Right, okay, Dirt Report time, and it's a pretty important one. We've got an update on the 3G shutdown in Australia. Yes, the network is 20 years old. However, there are still hundreds of thousands of devices that depend on the 3G network, and this number has just jumped to over 1 million devices. So make sure to like and subscribe and watch on after the intro as we delve a little bit deeper in what's going on with this story. Let's get started by rolling that intro. As far as 20-year-old 3G networks go, sure, the telcos want to shut it down to make more space for 4G and 5G networks. Those networks are now the majority of mobile users, and of course, they're taking in a lot of data and taking up a lot of space on those frequency bands. However, there is still a lot of devices out there, especially in regional areas, that depend on the 3G network to contact people, let alone emergency services. Of course, this switch over where 3G is going to be turned off will directly affect older devices that are on the 3G network. Telstra estimates that on their own network there is 113,000 devices that are 3G that customers have not upgraded in most regional areas. Optus, Vodafone, and a couple of other telcos have not commented on the number. Today I want to talk about what's happened with the timeline of these events, because the shutdowns have been talked about since 2019. But as far as from the outside, it looks like the government hasn't taken action until this year, which is not great. We talked about this in a previous Dirt Report, the fact that the 3G system was getting shut down. But then we heard about a working group that sounded the alarm about 3G devices that were not able to contact emergency services. You see, back in March, the Minister for Communication, Michelle Rowland, started this working group. That is March this year, 2024. Now, since that working group has been hard at work, they have found that 740,000 devices are still not capable of making a call to emergency services if 3G is turned off. And there is a couple of reasons for it. Not only is it just standard 3G devices, but there are some 4G devices that are just a little bit old, where the handset doesn't actually support the voice over LTE, and when making a call, it reverts to 3G for emergency services. If you turn off 3G, even though your phone might say 4G, it will not work. A lot of these devices are in regional areas where time is of the essence when you are calling emergency services. Now, TPG has turned off 3G in December last year. Telstra is scheduled for the 30th of June, and Optus is going to shut it down in September. Now, the reason for this video is that working group that Michelle Rowland kicked off in March this year has now indicated that those devices are going to go over 1 million. We now have 1 million devices out there in the public that at some point at the end of this year will not be able to make any emergency calls, let alone communicate with the outside world. Let's forget about that for a second. If you have an older device, a handset that is only 3G capable, yes, you will have to upgrade. If you have a medical device that is only 3G capable, and there is a lot of medical devices because the medical world doesn't upgrade devices very quickly. In fact, the modems in certain devices that are to do with safety in the home for older folks generally is a very expensive thing. And having something like a 4G modem built in, or a 5G modem let alone, is actually quite difficult. And obviously Wi-Fi and internet, well, that's another question if regional areas have that. 3G has been a dependable network for 20 years, so for it to be turned off is actually quite worrisome. From what I've gathered so far, it seems like the government, including Michelle Rowland, is scrambling right now. That working group's new estimate of 1 million or more devices out there in the wild is very concerning, and everybody is throwing their hands up. What do we do next? It seems to me, and I think it seems to a lot of punters out there, it's more than likely that the 3G shutdown will be delayed for at least a little while. Now, the telcos are trying their best to communicate with their customers. According to Telstra, they'll be sending out lots of information packs and messages and letting customers know that their device is not going to work. Telstra has also taken an extra step to create a number that you can text from your device to check if your device is still compatible beyond 3G. And that number is 3 text that to 3498 to check if you are on Telstra, obviously. So folks, let me know below if you've got a 3G device that is currently in danger of being obsolete. And to me, this is quite concerning. There's still a lot of devices out there that depend on it, and especially in regional and remote areas that, those people might not be able to afford a device, and the device is only used for calls, not Facebook apps, not Twitter, or X as it's called now. But it's important to still be able to communicate, especially with emergency services. Let's talk below, and I'll catch you all in another Dirt Report. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Bye.